You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. A division of RCE is now the Spark Radio Network. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
In these uncertain economic times, you've got to do whatever you can to save money. One of our biggest expenses can be our cars, especially when unexpected repair bills hit. Not anymore. If you own a vehicle with less than 130,000 miles, is less than 12 years old, has a warranty about to expire, or even no warranty at all, you could stop paying for car repairs. Roadside assistance, towing, and rental coverage are all included. Don't wait for the next repair. Make one free call right now to see if you qualify. If your vehicle is less than 12 years old, has less than 130,000 miles, even if it's out of warranty, paying for car repairs can become a thing of the past. Call us right now and get your car protected before your next repair bill hits. Get protection and no more repair bills. Call 800-696-1030. Again, 800-696-1030. That's 800-696-1030. 800-696-1030.
Joe had huge problems with the IRS.
I knew it was coming. I hadn't filed taxes since 1990.
All the IRS letters coming in added up to a nightmare.
To get up to like $68,000, my heart started beating fast. It's like, there's no way, man. I mean, I ain't going to be able to do this.
Then they stopped his paycheck.
So that's when I started making phone calls and found U.S. Tax Shield.
U.S. Tax Shield went to work immediately.
They just took the bull by the horns. What blew my mind is he called the IRS right then and there.
So why is U.S. Tax Shield A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau? Joe knows.
They saved me a ridiculous amount of money.
If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or state, choose the company Joe chose, U.S. Tax Shield.
It was the best decision I made. U.S. Tax Shield is the way to go. Life is good. Thank you, Lord.
Call 800-471-3287.
U.S. Tax Shield. Boo-rah. Yes.
800-471-3287. 800-471-3287.
They say we offer simple answers to complex problems. Well, perhaps there is a simple answer. Not an easy answer, but simple.
It's common ground. It's common ground. It's common ground. It's common ground.
We have serious problems to solve, and we need serious people to solve them.
Republicans and Democrats.
All right, folks. Well, this is Finding Common Ground. I'm Rick Robinson, one half of the crew, and you may notice we're a few minutes late. That's because of Snowpocalypse 2016. My daring and ever-present co-host, Mr. Bryce Robbins, has actually ran out, dug his own trench, and reran his internet line just so we could do the show today. No, not really, but he was having some internet issues, so we are a bit late to the party. Thanks for everybody who's been hanging out waiting for us, and we are now officially live. I'd ask how you're doing, Bryce, but I'm afraid your teeth may be chattering too much to answer my question.
It's so cold. No, I'm just joking. It's actually it's snowing like crazy out, so how good could I be doing?
Well, it could be worse. You know, it could be ice. Just saying.
I mean, it will be. Oh, it will be.
Well, no. See, in my state, when we're supposed to get snow, usually it turns into this freezing, drizzly stuff. So the power lines get coated, and the trees start breaking, and power lines get knocked over. And then it's like 3 weeks before you get your electricity back, and it's just terrible.
Dear God, what it must be like to live out there.
Actually, it's not really that bad. But interestingly enough, during our last big winter blast, which was right before the end of last year, it was so bad that we actually lost power at my day job for like 3 days. And there were so many people that were without power that it took them forever to find the transformers that they needed to be able to get the business up and running because the residences had to take priority. So for like 3 days, I would have to drive all the way into work just to turn around and drive all the way back home because they realized that they were just not going to be able to get the power back on that day. And I'm like, really? Yay.
When we had Superstorm Sandy, we were out of power for 9 days, and it was terrible. It just goes to show you how fragile our energy system is.
All right, so last week when we left off, we kind of just really got started into a topic, and then we ran out of time. Well, sadly, we are going to probably have to cut this one a little bit short again because you do have a guest, or maybe.
Well, maybe.
But anyway, I figure it's probably best to just go ahead and drop it at the normal time so that you can start your show when you need to. But that does give us probably enough time to beat this topic to death. One of the things that's been going around in the media lately, and even Donald Trump has jumped on board with it, is the fact that Ted Cruz may or may not be eligible to run for president because of the fact that he was actually born outside of the U.S. Now, I and other folks that have actually done research have been looking at this ever since the original story broke about Obama, when everybody started talking about how his Hawaiian birth certificate was supposedly fake because it used language that wasn't really commonly used on medical documentation or legal documentation during the time frames that that document was supposedly printed. Here's the ultimate conclusion that I came up with, and I'm still basically going to leave it up to you guys to draw your own conclusions. What they're referring to, as far as the person who runs for president has to be born on U.S. soil, is the fact that there was language at one point in time that was used that to be able to be eligible to run for president, you had to be a naturalized citizen. Now, the thing that nobody really takes into account is if you really look into it, naturalized citizen basically just means that you're born to at least one American parent, which is one of the things that I kept saying over and over and over again after I did some research, because I have to admit, for like 2 weeks when the Clinton camp dropped the birth certificate story, which for everybody who wants to blame Republicans for that, please go back and do some research. It was actually Hillary's camp that started that. But the simple fact of the matter is the premise was flawed. Now, a lot of folks disagree with me. I will invite you to do your own research and then make your own decision. I do believe Bryce may actually be one of the ones who does disagree with me, so I'll give him a chance to talk now.
All right, so I want to read the passage from Article 2, Section 1 of the Constitution that says, "No person except a natural-born citizen or a citizen of the United States at the time of the adoption of this Constitution shall be eligible to the office of President. Neither shall any person be eligible to the office who shall not have attained to the age of 35 years and been 14 years a resident within the United States." So, the big question here is, what is a natural-born citizen? And I think that is what we really need to get at here. But
except, can I point something out? Can you reread that last line for me one more time?
Yes. Person to be eligible of office who shall not have attained to the age of 35 years and been 14 years a resident within the United States.
So,
I feel that means is you were born in the United States, you could have left, and then you came back. But if you're only living here for 13 years, you can't run for president, but you were still born here.
So your stance with that is you're taking the stance that naturalized citizen means you had to have been born here.
No, I'm saying a natural-born citizen means that you were born here. A naturalized citizen means that you came here and got citizenship.
Except what is the term that the Constitution actually uses in the beginning of that sentence?
No person except a natural-born citizen or a citizen of the United States.
But what defines a natural-born citizen? That's my question. Does natural-born citizen mean that you have to be born on American soil, or is it the default status that you get because you have an American parent?
Well, from what I was always taught was that, it was always about being born within this country, that you could be born on U.S. soil.
Then why was John McCain eligible in 2008?
Because he was born on a military base, which is also considered U.S. soil. See, you can be born on U.S. soil regardless of your parents' citizenship, and then they can be born outside of the U.S., but they have to be on U.S. soil. Now, I have seen that you can have at least one U.S. parent, but then you have to go through the naturalization process. And Ted Cruz came here when he was 4 years old from Alberta, Canada, where he was born. So my problem here is that we need to define what a natural-born citizen is, because from what it sounds like, it means that you were born within our borders or on our soil, whether it be on a military base, on an aircraft carrier, or whatever. you were born under the American flag. Ted Cruz was born under the Canadian flag. So that's my problem. I think it kind of disqualifies him, but I think it'll be a great court battle at least.
Well, at this point, I have to tell you, I'm not even sure we're going to get that far. I have to tell you, this has been an interesting week for me. I actually almost threw in the towel on this whole thing on 3 separate occasions because I have been being lambasted by folks on the left and on the right. And I knew, don't get me wrong, I knew what I signed up for, so this isn't going to be a pity me moment. This is going to be, I'm not sure if this country is going to exist for a few more years or within a few more years because of the fact that we've all become a group of people that want to do nothing but cheerlead for whatever side that we're on and expect everybody to either fall in line with them lockstep or start attacking them vehemently. I have been, in the last several days, in pitched battles on Twitter with people that are diehard Trump supporters, and I mean the crazy Trump supporters. I mean, this dude could take a dump on the American flag and then wipe his butt with the corner of it, and they would still be yelling, rah, rah, rally, rally, let's get behind Trump. And here's the thing, and this is my point with all of it. Look, whether you're a Cruz supporter, you're a Rubio supporter, a Jeb supporter, sorry, I had a little bit of a shudder there, or even a Christie supporter, which I have to admit, Christie has surprised me. He really has. I have been downing Christie for months, years. But in the debates, if you listen to him and you actually pay attention to what he's doing, he's the only one that's doing it right. He's engaging the American people. He's not taking cheap pot shots, and he's talking to people like they're human beings, not like their property, and not like he's their slave master. The thing that boggles my mind is we have become this nation that now completely leads with our feels. Look, we can agree or disagree as to whether or not Ted Cruz is eligible to be president. That's for the courts to decide. And at some point, if he gets the nomination, they will likely have to do that, which is not necessarily a good thing because I disagree with the entire premise because the simple fact of the matter is naturalized citizen, as far as I was ever taught or ever led to believe, and even doing research of my own, means that you have to have been born to American parents. At least if one of your parents is American, you are automatically a natural citizen. Thereby, you are automatically a natural-born American citizen, regardless of where you are in the world at the time that happens. That is the way it's always been presented to me, and if I'm wrong, then we can have the courts decide it later. But the point I'm trying to get across is while we are so busy deciding whether or not Ted Cruz is even eligible to run for president, we have a complete crazy person who is the front runner, who has galvanized so many people into attack dogs. And the simple fact of the matter is, if you really start digging into Trump, he lies. He tells you what you want to hear, and you buy it hook, line, and sinker. And then when you're so busy listening to him saying, hey, we're going to make America great again, it's going to be huge, he goes on news stories or news channels and tells everybody that he wants socialized medicine and it's time for him to become part of the establishment. He said those things this week. Nobody's talking about them.
Or the fact that he retweeted a neo-Nazi.
Well, no, I'm okay. So just to get something perfectly clear, Donald Trump really doesn't run the real Donald Trump account. And the scary thing, though, and this was something I was going to bring up in a minute. The scary thing, though, is if you there are programs that you can use that will tell you how authentic someone's Twitter following is. Donald Trump has approximately 1.5 million followers that would fit the criteria of either being some form of bot or to have been bought and paid for. 1.5 million. So what this tells me is the same guy that tells you that he goes and he buys politicians because he gives them money because eventually they're going to have to owe him a favor is also going out buying his Twitter following and probably other social media followings to make himself look that much more important than he actually is. I mean, dude, the guy is the Joe Pesci of the business world. When you listen to him talk, that's what he reminds me of. It's like it's like Lethal Weapon 4 all over again. Guys, come on, guys, can I get a gun, guys? Can I get a gun, guys? Come on, guys, come on. I mean, really? Just sit down and shut up.
Did you hear, and I'm trying to find the clip, of Sarah Palin with Donald Trump?
Yes, I did. And I'm going to be completely honest. In 2008, I actually admired Sarah Palin. I think she has gone the way of Ann Coulter and other polemics. She has gotten so used over the last several years to hearing her own voice, and she actually likes the way it sounds. So she's now saying anything and everything that she can to get attention, including blaming her son's behavior on PTSD, which I thought was a little moronic. What I did find interesting and this just shows one other thing. Up until now, Sarah Palin has endorsed Ted Cruz a few times for his Senate races and everything else. All of a sudden, she goes, throws everything in with Trump, throws Cruz under the bus, and suddenly all these attacks start coming out about Sarah Palin's family. Ted Cruz, the guy who basically got stabbed in the back by Sarah Palin, stood up and said the attacks on our family were unwarranted and that people needed to stop. That proved to me in that moment that she picked the wrong side. However, with her behavior since she has thrown in with Trump, it proves to me that Ted Cruz probably didn't need her in his corner anyway.
Can I just play the clip of her speech? Just a short clip.
Can I find some earplugs first? No, I'm just playing. Yeah, go ahead.
Picking up the Republican race with just 13 days to go before the Iowa caucuses.
And are you ready to stump for Trump? You ready for a commander-in-chief who will let our warriors do their job and go kick ISIS? Not a politician. Can I get a hallelujah? Doggone right we're angry. Justifiably so.
The two former reality show stars.
All right, so those are just some clips of what she said. And not very, I don't like this whole idea that it's bad to be a politician. I think it's bad to be a slime ball. But I think we do need some decency and respect from the people who are, supposed to be leading this country. I don't want my president having the thermostat down low so he wears a sweater like Jimmy Carter. I want somebody with class, somebody who understands, the prestige of the office and not degrade it to some trashy reality show that these two people are bringing it to. It's quite depressing. I mean, in all honesty, Sarah Palin, I saw this, the funniest post on Twitter. It was, forget Obama's birth certificate. I want to see Sarah Palin's high school diploma. It's true. This lady can't put together a coherent sentence. And then she is rallying up all these people who also are, feel marginalized and are largely uneducated. And they're backing Trump. And Trump is promising them, he is the biggest hoser ever. Because if you think about it, Trump is a Ivy League graduate. He's worth billions of dollars. And he's benefiting off the poor, white, uneducated society in America, saying, I will make things better. But he won't. All of his plans will not help those people. And unfortunately, what will help those people is expanding access to education, expanding many benefits, and, reworking systems so that, they help people. Because the large majority of people who are on these welfare programs are the same people who are supporting him that he will eventually cut, get rid of, and dismantle. So we really need to figure out a candidate who is actually for the people who are supporting him. And I think Donald Trump is pulling one over all of his supporters.
Oh, no, I know he is. Hang on a second. I have something that I want you to hear because it may actually change your mind about who you're going to vote for. Just kidding. But this was interesting, and this is one of the things, and this is, again, one of the things that has been basically all over my timeline for the last 2 days. I have had all of these Trump supporters talking about how he would never socialize medicine and he would never do anything to take money from the people, and then he goes and says this, and apparently they didn't hear it.
Everybody's got to be covered. This is an un-Republican thing for me to say because a lot of times they say, no, the lower 25%, they can't afford private. But
universal health care.
I am going to take care of everybody. I don't care if it costs me votes or not. Everybody's going to be taken care of much better than they're taken care of now.
The uninsured person is going to be taken care of.
They're going to be taken care of.
How?
I would make a deal with existing hospitals to take care of people. And you know what? This is probably...
Make a deal. Who pays for it?
The government's going to pay for it, but we're going to save so much money on the other side.
So there you have Mr. Anti-Establishment telling everybody that, that he's all big, bad Mr. Conservative, but then he goes and basically says, hey, not only am I going to fix Obamacare, I'm going to make it to the point where it's basically socialized medicine.
Wait, he said that? When?
That was a recent 60 Minutes interview. I think it was either this past Sunday or the Sunday before.
Huh.
Yeah, so it gets even better because, we have all of these folks that are all, oh my God, Obama's not establishment. Obama's not establishment. Obama's not establishment. He's going to kick the establishment's ass. And then he says this. Or did I say Obama? I meant Trump, sorry.
$50 billion that we give Iran plus their, we release their hostages and they give us nothing. This is shameful. Our country should be better than that. We need to be first, and what we need is a great negotiator so that our country is first.
Do you agree with Donald Trump that you need to be a little bit establishment?
He didn't say we need to be a little bit establishment. What he said is you need to put people in the room to get things done. What we need to do is to fix it. People are so tired of the
let's get to be a little establishment.
If you'd like me to answer the question, I'll be happy to. What he said is you need to put people in the room so that you can get a deal done. Life is about deals. Putting 2 people in a room or 4 people in a room and making sure you can talk through it so that it is best for the country, that's what our country needs. You need a strong leader to get those things done. We need to negotiate better. We need to have better trade deals with our partners. We need to have a better deal when it comes to the economy.
Because he's a strident guy. No, you cannot have that. I told you, he's trying to paint me as part of the establishment. And somebody said, establishment? Well, how come Sarah Palin just backed up establishment? And you know what? There's a point at which let's get to be a little establishment. We got to get things done, folks, okay? Believe me, don't worry. We're going to make such great deals. But at a certain point, you can't be so strident. You can't not get along.
Do you agree with Donald Trump that you need to be a little bit establishment?
He didn't say we need to be a little bit establishment. What he said is you need to put people in a room to get...
Let's get to be a little establishment.
You literally said, let's get to be a little establishment.
If you'd like me to answer the question...
Let's get to be a little establishment.
All right, so there you have Mr. Anti-Establishment himself telling the world that it's time for him to start moving towards the establishment. Now, before I move on or give Bryce a second, there was an article that I saw that actually just popped into my timeline. I'm trying to see if I can find it again. It's basically, let's see who this actually was before I start spouting it, because if it's somewhere like a red flag, then I'm not going to talk about it. Actually, hang on. There's apparently a clip attached with this, so let's let this play, because then it's not just me talking, and you can actually hear what he said. Apparently, this is an article by Truth in Media where Trump says he supports reauthorizing the Patriot Act as well as NSA metadata collection. So let's play the clip and see if it actually pans out based on the headline.
All right, let me ask you about the big debate between Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio. I had Senator Cruz on yesterday, Senator Rubio the week before, and I'm sure they'll all be back before Las Vegas. On metadata collection, Ted Cruz is glad that the NSA got out of it. Marco Rubio wants it back. What's Donald Trump think?
Well, I tend to err on the side of security, I must tell you, and I've been there for longer than you would think. But, when you have people that are beheading our if you're a Christian and frankly for lots of other reasons, when you have the world looking at us and would like to destroy us as quickly as possible, I err on the side of security. And so, that's the way it is. That's the way I've been. And some people like that, frankly, and some people don't like that.
Mr. Trump, are you back?
I'm here.
Okay, yeah, we lost you there for some moment.
You were saying... I just said I err on the side of security. I think that, some people like that, some people don't like it. But I think, and I'm not just saying that, since Paris, I'm saying for quite some time. I assume when I pick up my telephone, people are listening to my conversations anyway. If you want to know the truth, it's pretty sad commentary. But I err on the side of security.
All right, so you would be in favor of restoring the Patriot Act?
I think that would be fine. As far as I'm concerned, that would be fine.
All right, so again, Mr. Anti-Establishment, from his own mouth, says that he would prefer that we reinstate the metadata collection as well as reinstating the Patriot Act. So for all of you who've been attacking me for the last several weeks for not getting behind Donald Trump, I would like my apology in writing now, please. Just saying.
I mean, was it ever a surprise, though, really, from the point from before that he supported universal health care? He said it before, and I don't expect him to be changing his views. Also on abortion, he's not going to change his views. On many things, he's not going to change his views. And if you ever listen to his rallies, and I was listening to, I would say, 2 or 3 over this past week, he doesn't state his policies. All he says is, we're going to make America great again.
It's going to be huge.
Yeah, it's going to be huge, and you're going to love it. And he goes, now look at these poll numbers. Oh, my God, these polls. The politicians ask me, why do I read my poll numbers? And I say, because I'm in first place. It's my polls. But in all reality, he's not, he doesn't say anything. People don't know what he wants. Sad.
And that's been my point all along, because he legitimately says nothing of substance, and everybody just continually gives him a pass. He is the Republicans' version of Barack Obama. We have become what we made fun of 7 years ago. A group of people that are basically willing to elevate an unknown quantity to a position of ultimate power. And let me tell you this, and I'll tell you on this show the same thing that I've been saying for the last few days on my show. I'm not mad at Donald Trump. Not about this. I can't be mad at Donald Trump about this, because the only reason that Donald Trump is in the position that he's in is because my party completely dropped the ball. This should have been our election cycle. Because with as bad as everything's been under Obama, and the truth that is slowly starting to come out about all the scandals with Hillary, this was our election cycle to lose, much like we thought it was for 2012. The problem is we're now basically going to wind up recreating the exact thing that cost us the 2012 election. The only difference is for me, and this is where it gets personal, in 2012, I was the one telling everybody that they still needed to vote for Romney even if it left a bad taste in their mouth. I can't do that this time. If Donald Trump gets the nomination, I will not be voting for him. I cannot do it. And let me tell you why personally I can't do it, because it's not a reflection of his politics. It's not even a reflection of me not wanting to support my party. It's a reflection of the fact that I personally have special needs children. I have 2 of them. I've raised them from birth. It's been a very difficult process. It's never easy. But when I see someone who is running for president using their crowds that they are drawing to make fun of someone else with special needs just because they disagree with him, that is not the type of person that we need to have for president, because let me tell you why. I do not know Donald Trump personally, which is another reason why I can only be angry with him about this one thing. The rest of it I have to lay at the feet of my party. But let me tell you this, someone who would do that in front of millions of people and know that it's going to be heard worldwide and talked about in every major news outlet and put out through YouTube and everywhere else, they have to have at their core a very dark spot in their heart to do something like that to someone who has already had a crappy life. I mean, look, I know from personal experience, I wobble. I have a bad eye. I get made fun of all the time. It was so bad that I started making fun of myself just to stop people from doing it. And it started as a very unhealthy thing for me. But as I kept doing it, it made me more comfortable with who I was. And it brought me out of my shell, because there was a time when I never could have done anything like what I'm doing right now. Not knowing how many people are listening. There was a time I never could have done this because I wasn't comfortable with who I was. But by coming to terms with what God had dealt me and what had happened and why it happened and for whatever reason and all of the above, I eventually became comfortable enough that I was able to find peace in my own skin again. But I have to tell you, going through that, if I would have had someone like Donald Trump do that to me in front of everybody, I probably would have found a way to throat punch him. And I have to tell you this right now, every time, because people send me that clip all the time, and they used to, especially when they thought that I was still going to be supporting him. How can you support a guy that says this, knowing what you've been through and what your children go through? And that's what I keep telling them. I can't. I don't know why you keep sending me this clip, because all it makes me want to do is go find him and throat punch him. No, you don't have to send law enforcement to Oklahoma. I'm not going to throat punch a presidential candidate. I just said that I want to. Sure.
Fair. No, very fair. Very, 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 very fair. It's ridiculous. It's bad. And what bothers me is that, I mean, if you even listen to Lindsey Graham this week, he said the most dangerous men for our party is Ted Cruz and Donald Trump. And I would rather elect a liar or disingenuous than elect crazy. And he was referring to Hillary Clinton, which kind of made it shocking.
Oh, no, there are a lot of folks that are part of the Republican Party that have come out in favor of Hillary Clinton. One of the senators, it was either a senator or a congressman, his name escapes me, but I have his face in my head, but I can't think of who he is for the moment. From my home state, actually recently came out after he had retired and said that at this point, if he had his druthers, he would rather elect Hillary Clinton. That's the problem, though. Everybody in D.C. has become ensconced in the establishment. And I have to say this right now. If it wasn't for the fact that Marco Rubio got caught up in this Gang of Eight deal and bought all the crap that they were selling, this would probably be a much different election right now. Because Marco Rubio was sent where he is now by the Tea Party. But now the Tea Party can't stand him. Now the Tea Party, for some reason, for the most part, is supporting Donald Trump. And that is something else that I really do not understand. The Republican Party has become every stereotype that the Democratic Party has ever thrown out about it. And not only have they become it, they've embraced it. And what is driving me crazy is everyone that has a position of somewhat of a pulpit within the Republican Party is touting and extolling the virtues of Donald Trump. Everyone from Sean Hannity to frickin' Michael Savage is talking about how great Donald Trump is and how we need to give him a shot because he's obviously had a come to Jesus moment and changed a lot of his opinions on things like abortion and everything else. I don't buy it. Because he's telling people what they want to hear long enough to tell them what they need to hear to get what he wants. But then he goes on the news and tells people exactly what he thinks. And nobody's listening because they're too busy listening to "We're going to make America great. It's going to be huge." I mean, it's like we actually started toying around with the idea of making a segment that the shows that want to can start playing. It's if we can get it put together, it's going to be in the mind of Trump, because I actually kind of off the cuff wrote something last night and put it in one of the Twitter groups that I'm in, and they were like, "Is that a quote?" Or it's like, "A quote from who?" They're like, "It kind of sounds like you're quoting Donald Trump there." And what I was talking about was when all these stories started breaking out about the establishment and the socialized medicine and buying Twitter followers, National Review Online picking him to pieces. And I just said, look, it's this simple. He's going to be able to say about 3 or 4, "We're going to make America great again." He's going to throw in, "It's going to be huge." And then before you know it, the Pied Piper's going to have all the little rats lined up back in a line with their marching orders, and everybody's going to go off and do what they got to do to make Donald Trump the president. And everybody was like, "Did you just quote that? Because that sounded a lot like Donald Trump." And that's where I got the idea that I'll probably see if I can put something like that together about once a week and have somebody that can do a decent Trump impression read it, because it would probably be pretty funny. But the scary thing about it is it honestly sounds like something that you would hear. If this was a movie, this would be one of those scenes where it was just like Donald Trump and his wife and just a camera, and she'd be coming in, "Donald, have you seen all the press that you're getting about saying that you need to be part of the establishment and that you need to do this and you're going to do this and you're going to socialize medicine? What are you going to do?" And then he would say something like that to her when he doesn't think anybody else is listening, which is sadly kind of how it played out in my head when I was typing it.
I mean, it is pretty depressing. Oh, Donald. Oh, Republicans. I honestly think that the Republicans need a young Hispanic man, not Marco Rubio, to steer the party a little different. Like, let me ask you a question. Would you give up the climate change argument and gay marriage just to have, but have somebody with conservative economic principles? Like, wouldn't that just be worth it?
Actually, I think a lot of folks on my party, other than the climate change thing, I mean, look, Bryce, we're never going to agree there. I'm going to make fun of you about that till the day that either the earth freezes or burns up, and then it ain't going to matter. But the simple fact of the matter is, a lot of us have already ceded gay marriage, because that's one of the things that a lot of us that are full-on conservatives have been saying for a long time. I don't care who you marry or who you do what with, as long as I don't have to see it every day.
Yeah, I know, but my point here is once the Republicans, I feel, have a candidate who supports same-sex marriage, who, fine, doesn't agree with climate change, but is a staunch protector of the environment, or at least says he is, and then follows suit with all the other Republican ideals, like building a wall, gun freedom, religious freedoms, things like that.
So just for the record, building a wall is not necessarily a Republican ideal. What we're saying is we want to enforce the immigration laws that we already have. Nobody's saying that I mean, that's a Donald Trump thing. Donald Trump's the one that says, "Hey, we're going to build a wall. It's going to be huge. It's going to be great, and Mexico's going to pay for it." Okay, how are you going to make that happen?
I mean, I agree with the idea of building a wall, but I just think that we need to, definitely enforce the laws that we already have. But
all right, so since we got a late start, we're actually going to declare commercial-free day because I don't want to burn up too much time with ads. So I want to give a shout-out to a couple of sponsors that we have. One is a brand-new sponsor. We'll be putting a spot together for them here in the next couple of days. Politicalbrick.org. I do urge you to go find them on Twitter and also look them up on the website. It's a pretty great little company. I mean, it's a novelty company, but in an election cycle, it's a wonderful thing. They actually have bricks with the pictures and names of your candidates of choice, or possibly even the ones that you don't like. And they're actually selling them all right now. You can get, I believe it is all 6 of them. They have 6 total for $5. So feel free to go look them up. Also want to give a shout out to concealandcarry.net, one of our first sponsors around here. We do not give them enough talk time anymore, so I want to take a moment to do that. If you are looking for ammunition, equipment, weapons, or concealed carry training, I do encourage you to go to concealandcarry.net. They're pretty easy to find on the internet. You put the word conceal, the letter N, the word carry right next to each other, then you put the .net on the end. You hit enter, it's going to take you to a map of the country. You pick the state that you're in. It will outline for you stores and shops in your area that can give you the things that you need to get what you want for your weaponry. So I do encourage you to do that as of, well, not right now. You know, don't tune out. But after the show, or after Bryce's show, if you're so inclined to hang around and listen to that, and make sure that you go check that out. Now, at this point, I want to go ahead and move on to play something for you, Bryce, that I've been playing on my own show. I'm just going to go ahead and let it run, though, instead of stopping it item by item and taking it apart. Unless at some point there's something that you want to say, and then I'm going to just say something and I will pause it. But this is a video entitled, "In 180 Seconds, You Will Be Voting for Bernie Sanders." You can imagine that I've probably been taking this apart for about a week now, but I'll let you hear it and see what you have to say.
Here's the simple truth, that in America we have millions and millions of working people who are working hard but are not making enough money to put bread on the table or to take care of their kids, and that has got to end.
Today, all over America, you got mom working, you got dad working, occasionally you have the kids working, and we still don't have enough money to pay the bills. Something is fundamentally wrong about that. The problems we face did not come down from the heavens. They are made by bad human decisions. And good human decisions can change them. It is time that the United States of America join the rest of the industrialized world and guaranteed health care to all people as a right, not a privilege. Given the incredible wealth and income inequality in America today, we need fair elections, which means public funding of elections. My Republican friends just decided to put another $38 billion into the military. Maybe we can cut military spending a little bit and put it into education. 100 years ago, women didn't even have the right to vote. Change takes place because people struggle. Within the next month, I will introduce legislation that will make every public college and public university tuition free. I am in this business because I have 4 beautiful kids and I have 7 beautiful grandchildren. And like you, I want to make sure that the world that we leave them is a beautiful world where people can live full and dignified lives. I don't want to see a world where people are struggling and stepping all over each other. And we can do it. We can provide health care to all of our people. We can create decent paying jobs. We can reverse climate change and transform our energy system. We can raise wages. We can make sure that every person in this country gets the education they need and desire. This is not some type of utopian dream. It can happen. It really can. But it will not happen unless we stand up and fight back for not only ourselves, but for our kids and future generations. Let's do it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I figured that would get a rise out of you. So I just want your take on it, because I know that Bernie's your guy. How much of that do you think he's honestly going to be able to pull off should he actually become president of the United States?
pull off? Not a lot. And that, I think, is a big reason why people won't pull the trigger for Bernie. But the thing is, the message he is speaking to is true. We have a problem. We have, the reason the numbers of job creation goes up so much isn't because, we all of a sudden have all these Americans going back to work. It's because Americans are getting more jobs to live the same life. And the real fact of the matter is we have many Americans working longer than ever, getting paid less than ever. And I think Bernie Sanders speaks to those people who understand that.
Okay,
and I think
so hang on. Let's take this point by point since we're not taking a break. We've got a couple more minutes. Let's stop there for a second because two things I want to point out about that. One, a lot of the reasons why people are taking on more and more part-time jobs is because of the way that the ACA attacks people and businesses that provide full-time work. So now people are having to find more and more full-time or part-time jobs to make up for the fact that there are a lot of smaller businesses now that do not even offer full-time employment. And Bernie
Sanders doesn't want that.
Okay,
he doesn't want the Affordable Care Act. You heard it at the Democratic debate.
No, I understand that he doesn't, but let's lay the blame at the feet where it actually belongs, which is squarely with the Democratic Party. Now, I understand that he's also an independent, but that was just my first thought on this. My other thought on this, and I think this every time I hear him talk about moms and dads and kids having to work. How many moms and dads and kids having to work isn't necessarily because they can't pay their day-to-day expenses, but because they want to have the latest and greatest techie gadgets and 70-inch screen TVs and drive an Escalade, and their 4-year-old kid has to have the latest iPhone. The simple fact of the matter is a lot of what is causing the problems in this country lie squarely at the feet of the American people because we have stopped with the idea that we need to live within our means. And that is not necessarily just our fault because a lot of us have bought into the crap that the federal government has been telling us now for decades because we've become a country with really no sustainable economy unless people go out and shop. Hence, the statement that George W. Bush made shortly after 9/11, it's time for you to leave your homes. It's time for you to go out and go back to the shops and spend your money because the economy needs you to spend your money. That was a clarion call for me. That was one of the first times that I realized just how badly things are in this country because if we're not spending money, we die. And the simple fact of the matter is that is a problem. But the problem is it's been so perpetuated by the government and everybody keeps saying, well, and look at it from another perspective. And this is going to be my evil conservative side for just a moment. But how many of those same people that are living paycheck to paycheck, that can't make ends meet, supposedly, are also the same people that are on government subsidy programs that basically would equate their salaries in my neck of the woods to being somewhere around $60,000 to $70,000 a year because they're getting a $800 a month house for $50, and they're getting their electric bill, which is normally $200, paid for about $25, and the government's paying for at least 50% of their food, and they get daycare assistance, and they get all of these other programs, but they can't afford to pay their bills. Why is that? When some of them do still have part-time jobs. It's because we're not prioritizing properly. So no, I don't think that we need to give more control over to the government. I think we need to start holding people more accountable on what they do to spend their own money. Because it really is that simple. We used to live within our means. We don't anymore. And like I said, it's not just the American people's fault. Because the same thing that happened with the medical practices when we started getting insurance companies involved in it are the same thing that happened with everyday purchases. Because when people realize that you can go to somebody and get credit to get something that you couldn't necessarily afford to pay for all at once, all it started doing was inflating the prices because nobody gave a damn anymore because, hey, you're paying it out in pieces. So yeah, who cares if a house that was one day $50,000 is now $120,000 because you're only paying $900 a month for it. So who's it really hurting? Except for when you lose your job and suddenly you can't afford to pay the house payment anymore because what you could have paid off in 10 years is now 30 years, and God forbid something happened to you in that 30-year span. But we don't think that far ahead because we can't, because we're not allowed to, because we have to shop, we have to spend. It's the only way to keep the economy alive. And that's my problem with all of it, including a lot of what he's saying, is all he's really doing at this point is perpetuating the same system that he says that he's opposed to. If we're honestly going to fix these things, there are ways to fix them. The ways to fix them is not by raising the minimum wage. Raising the minimum wage, you and I have had this discussion. Raising the minimum wage will not fix the problem. It will only perpetuate what is already there. And that is, again, my problem with Trump, Obama, and Bernie Sanders, because each of them tries to tell you that they are not part of the group that's caused the problem, and yet they want to perpetuate the same things that have caused the problems, and in some instances even make them worse. Because, yeah, great idea. Let's make college free, except it's not going to be free. What's going to wind up happening is the colleges are going to send their bills instead of to the parents or to the scholarship programs or to the students themselves. They're going to send them to the federal government. And when they do that, they're going to slowly and surely and steadily inflate their prices because they do it every single time. Anytime the government steps in to deal with pricing, everything goes up, because if the government's going to foot the bill, as far as anybody that's outside of the government is concerned, they have an unlimited spigot of money. So my only question for Bernie Sanders, and then I will turn the last couple of minutes back over to you because I didn't mean to talk quite this long, is if he's going to accomplish all of those things, I will assume that his first act will be to order the Department of Agriculture to plant about 1 billion mythical money trees, because obviously he must know where they are.
Well, yeah. I mean, in all reality, it's 11. Well, we're going to get back to this topic next week. So, yeah. We will get back to this topic.
Okay, so put a pin in it, and we will get back to this topic on next week's show. This is becoming a pattern. We really
Michael
get...
Bloomberg might be running for president.
Who?
Michael Bloomberg.
Oh, God, no.
Yep. Next week's topic. See you later, everybody.
Mr. I'm going to regulate your Slurpee wants to run for president. That's a really scary thought. All right, folks, we have got to get out of here to make room for Bryce's show. I am Rick Robinson. You've been listening to Bryce Robbins, and I've been tearing apart both Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders. He's been doing his usual cheerleading. But what can you expect from a millennial liberal? We'll be back next week.
They say we offer simple answers to complex problems, but perhaps there is a simple answer. Not an easy answer, but simple.
It's common ground. It's common ground. It's common ground. It's common ground.
We have serious problems to solve, and we need serious people to solve them.